What's up, my peeps? Welcome back to the Dude Nurse Show. Ha ha. Yeah, I'm excited. It's Friday. Who the hell's not excited on Friday, right? Got a great show lined up for you folks today. Today, we are going to talk about the hygiene hypothesis. Yes, that's right. The hygiene hypothesis. What the hell does that mean? So, the hygiene hypothesis is basically a tenet in medicine that suggests that living in too clean of an environment can cause issues for people, particularly for children. So when I was a kid, I played outside constantly. I remember the Nintendo NES. I believe it came out on the market in 1985. I was about 7 at the time, and before that, of course, was like Atari and Coleco and all that. But we were kind of poor, so we didn't have a lot of that shit. And there was no internet, no YouTube, no podcast. What a shame. No Dude Nurse Show. Huh, I know, right? Who can live in a world without the Dude Nurse Show? Pardon my digression. And so, went outside playing Rambo and, all kinds of other shit with my friends. And I was constantly getting cut up and roughed up and, playing in the dirt with sticks and sharp objects and, all kinds of stuff. And two, hand sanitizer wasn't really a big issue. It wasn't really pervasive everywhere. I'm not even really sure when it was invented, but I never recall anything called hand sanitizer. You used soap and water. And the soap at the time didn't have things like triclosan in it and, antibacterial this and antimicrobial that. Everything today is pumped full of shit to, is deemed antimicrobial. So as a result, over the years, what we've seen is that the United States has higher prevalence of autoimmune diseases than other developed nations. And, we're not talking about Haiti or, some other shithole country. No offense if you're from Haiti, but it is a shithole. Sorry. We're not talking about countries like that. We're talking about developed nations. And so with these diseases, like I said, we've seen these autoimmune diseases increase. And what's an autoimmune disease? It's basically a disease that attacks, the body attacks itself. Okay, there's various diseases that are autoimmune, lupus. There's tons of them. I'm not going to go through and name them all. But we've also seen rates increase of allergies in kids, asthma, things like that. Anything where diseases can trigger an inflammatory process, and that's a lot of different diseases. And I'm not talking about things like, measles and mumps and rubella, chickenpox. I'm not talking about the things that we have, vaccinations for and things like that. I'm talking about you crazy freaking helicopter parents that every single time your kid touches anything, you're right there with the handy wipe that's got, freaking napalm in it to kill germs. And you know who you are. I've seen you bastards at Chick-fil-A, at McDonald's, the Burger King, everywhere. Every time your kid touches anything, you're right there wiping down their hands, and you literally helicopter hover over them while they're trying to play and just be a freaking kid. Now, on one hand, I understand that, there's a lot of really bad germs and diseases and things out there, but come on, do your kid a favor, let them get sick once in a while. I mean, if it's like exercising a muscle. If you don't, your immune system, if you don't use it, it's not going to be prepared when you actually need it. Like I said, there's strong evidence that shows that these diseases are on the rise. And like I said, not just autoimmune diseases, but things like asthma. Asthma is triggered by an inflammatory response in the lungs and causes, difficulty breathing and wheezing and shortness of breath and all kinds of things. And We see this a lot too. When I was an ER nurse, parents would come in with their kids and they would have what we determined to be like an upper respiratory infection. The majority of them, most upper respiratory infections are viral, caused by a virus, and there's not really an indication for an antibiotic unless we're worried about a secondary infection or there's something else going on too. By and large, you don't need an antibiotic if you have a viral syndrome of some kind going on. But these parents, they learned that fateful word, everybody's favorite word when it comes to antibiotic, Z-Pak. And that's azithromycin, and it's everybody loves a Z-Pak because it's just a short 5-day course. You don't take that many pills, and it's like a wonder drug, right? Well, the overuse of antibiotics may, for things that didn't require antibiotics, antibiotics not only kill bad germs, they kill good germs as well, and so they can alter what's known as our normal flora. It can cause secondary infections, opportunistic infections when our immune system gets kind of out of whack. Is in order for antibiotics to work, we have to have by and large an intact immune system. Okay, so anyway, overuse of these antibiotics, they were putting all this shit in different food and everything, but a lot of it too, like I said, has to do with the fact that parents don't let their kids get sick. So when they get older in life, they're allergic to every freaking thing. It seems like they're allergic to the air. People, they eat or drink or whatever, anything, and then they break out in a rash or hives or whatever. And like I said, it just seems like you have to put them in a freaking clean room. Well, like I said, a lot of these kids just never had the opportunity to get sick at all. I'm fortunate. I'm not allergic to anything. I've never had an allergic reaction in my life. Well, and let me rephrase that. I've never had an anaphylactic reaction. I've had, allergic type reactions to, being stung by a bee or bitten by ants, that is a small type of allergic reaction. But as far as like wheezing and swelling of my airway or my face, which is angioedema, never had anything like that, thank God. And I've eaten shellfish, peanuts. I pretty much eat whatever the hell I want, and I'm very lucky and thankful for that. But as a kid, like I said, I was allowed to go outside and get sick. I remember when Hurricane Alicia hit, I believe it was 1984, so I was about 5 or 6. I remember we lived in LaPorte, Texas. I'm a native Houstonian. Not sure if you guys know that. And so I remember we lived right on the water. And I remember the Red Cross or whatever coming and bringing potable water and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to us. It was amazing. It was the coolest thing. Getting to eat PB&J and had all these, there was like the National Guard and all these people. It was really cool. But in the apartment complex that we lived in, there was water, everywhere. It was, 3 or 4 feet deep, everywhere flooded. And we were outside, we'd be in inner tubes and rafts and just playing in the water. And it was nasty water, right? It was gross. And I remember I got ringworm because of it. My mother was pissed. My mother was a nurse also. And so, I got sick with that and, treated it, and it resolved. And so, I was always out running around doing something as a kid. Nowadays kids are in the house mostly. I live in a pretty nice neighborhood in the Woodlands, Texas, and it's it's a family neighborhood, but I don't see a lot of kids outside. It's really weird. And sometimes when I see kids outside, their head is in their tablet, iPad, Google Chromebook, their parents' iPhone or their own iPhone. They're not outside actually playing and doing anything. Kids don't ride a lot of bikes anymore. They're on video games and doing things online, which typically means inside. And so when your environment is restricted, if you will, to a cleaner type environment, this is the result. There's, like I said, a lot of evidence that supports that, the hygiene hypothesis is a leading cause of a lot of these issues that kids are having. And these issues don't go away. So when they're little and they don't develop an immune system, when they get older and they have all these problems, there's not really a way to fix it. It's kind of hard to go backwards and kind of retrain your immune system, because by this time the immune system's already mistrained, untrained, if you will. And so every time any little thing happens, it overreacts and triggers this massive inflammatory autoimmune type response. And excuse me, by doing so, that's what causes all the symptoms with the asthma, the wheezing, the breaking out in the hives and the rashes, and upset stomachs, and just general issues with these kids. And you can't quite put your finger on exactly what it is. It's just, it looks like an infection, but it's not necessarily an infection. It just kind of acts like an infection, and so it's really strange, and it's really difficult to treat. So by no means am I saying, don't clean your house, don't, wash your kids' hands. But I mean, for God's sakes, you don't have to follow them around every second with hand sanitizer, when they're out playing. The same rules and things still apply. If washing their hands, after they go to the bathroom, especially if they're, going number two, just common sense things. If the kids are playing at McDonald's and they're touching, everything, before they come and eat their chicken McNuggets, wash their hands. I mean, they're gonna put shit in their mouth, and they're gonna do things that are disgusting. But that's what kids do. Like I said, as long as don't let them eat poop, don't let them eat cat poop, dog poop, any kind of poop. I don't recommend any kind of poop for kids, okay, or adults. Unless you have pica. Even then, I don't recommend the poop, but, understand why you might be inclined to eat the poop. Again, I digress. So, clean your house, just the same way you will. But, again, you don't have to use napalm in your house to kill things. You still observe the same kinds of rules. Don't mix, raw meat with, raw vegetables and other things like that. Cook your food to proper internal temperatures. I mean, just the commonsensical things. When you're done, clean it up. I mean, it's like I said, it's not that difficult. Have the kids get their vaccinations as they're age appropriate. I did my show, I think 2 shows ago, I talked about vaccination. So if you want the scoop on that, please go listen to that. There's some really good information on there, if I do say so myself. But yeah, let your kids, let their immune system do what it needs to do. Okay. Like I said, you don't have to follow them around every second, with hand sanitizer and, all kinds of, VX poison gas to, get the germs and things off of their hands. By and large, the number one way, and this is for all people, the number one way that diseases and germs are transmitted are through our hands. So good hand hygiene, washing your hands, will take care of a good majority of these issues, And then, like I said, the basics, if you're sick, cover your cough, don't send your kid to school when they're coughing and wheezing and sneezing and, with a fever and all that other crap, follow good, basic common sense, and, things, your kids will appreciate it much, much, much more later in life when they're not having to deal with all of these issues because you tried to keep them in this perfect clean bubble and never let little Johnny get sick. It's not doing little Johnny any good. He's going to feel like crap for a couple of days, maybe a week. But when you compare that to having them feel that way, having their immune system overreact, perpetually for the rest of their life, I think a few days or a week is a small price to pay. Okay. So that's going to conclude this episode of the Dude Nurse Show. Thank you all for tuning in. I did want to mention that my ebook, it's called The Way of All Flesh, is now available for purchase on Amazon. It's $7.99. It is a quick, kind of down and dirty, to the point, Hospice 101 kind of book. Talks about some of the symptoms and things that you can expect while a loved one is on hospice. I know I've been saying I'm going to do a podcast about hospice, and I am. I've been working on this ebook for quite some time, and I'm super stoked to announce that I finally finished it. And as I said, it is available for purchase online, $7.99. Please go check it out. I believe you can download a free sample, but that would help support me greatly. Thank you. Until next time, folks, the Dude Nurse saying be well.